Episode 18 of Print and Paint. I'm Kevin and today I'm doing the Hulk from Planet Hulk. I'm on my mini factory. The model is from Wicked and that's a really nice one, really complicated, but let's do it. So here in Chitubox I'm gonna spare you doing every single piece one by one. I'm just showing you here the whole thing all together. So that's 23 pieces and it was not that hard. None of them were really complicated. It just took a bit of time. I had to redo one. I was not really happy when the print came out. I've changed the angle, but everything is really straightforward. I've put support from underneath. Okay, so after many prints, many hours and a lot of trouble, I finally have all my parts done together. I've glued the monster already. I still miss some parts, I'm going to show you later why. Then I've decided to glue the Hulk as well. I thought about keeping a lot of them separated, but some of the feet were not perfect. Like some of them were really great, but sometimes it was kind of off. So I decided to glue them, try to fill the gap, clean the seam. I still have some small parts on the side which I'm going to have to put together at the end. So I'm going to show you right now basically what happened is if I keep the Hulk separate and the monster separate for now for painting, when I put them back together after, I kind of have to go in orders. So I'm going to have to kind of feed the tongue between the leg, then put the Hulk down, glue everything together. At the back, go with some like cloth at the back. And it's a great model, but it's really intricate to put together, and I'm not sure if the modeler have printed this already, but it's quite of a nightmare to be honest, but that's fine. We're gonna go through it and let's paint. Okay, let's go. So I start on the base coat here on Hulk. I will start with the skin for him because it's gonna be the most prominent color, and it's gonna then, when I'm gonna dry brush, it's gonna dry brush over everything. So get my order right. I base coated the monster as well. So here I'm just going slightly with brighter green. I want to define the volume first, and then later on I will try to mix with some lighter color. So after a first coat I'm going over with a bit brighter. And we can't really see the difference, but it's fine. Then after I'm just brighten the color a little bit more and I'm going over. And right here we can see some difference. And I try to get some light coming from one way. Now I'm base coating the leather part. There is a lot of small part overall. And of course I made sure I was done with the skin and the dry brushing. You could have went for non-metallic metal on those parts, but they would have been quite hard, I think, so I just went classic and a little bit easier. Here I start working on the monster. So I use this color I find when I look online for Planet Hulk, because I don't know much about him. I find one of this cover, the comics cover, who were like purplish, pinkish, so that's the color I went with. I went with dark magenta for the base coat, and now I'm doing the same as for the skin. I'm dry brushing lighter color over and over, and I try to get some volume and some highlight coming from some angle. And there is a lot of texture on the skin, so that's really nice, easy to catch the edge. Here I'm putting some wash, sepia wash on the leather, trying to get some some weathering. And then here I'm defining some small highlight on the leather. I'm not really good at doing leather stuff. Here I'm gonna try later on to add details, some kind of small scratches everywhere, like I'm doing right now on the skirt. I went a bit overboard, I think. I'm not sure how many I had to do, but that's fine. Always here to learn. So it's the same principle for the skirt. Here I'm trying to do some scratches. Here I'm giving some detail on this arm. So it's like an armor, a really tight armor, kind of chainmail mixed with armor. There's a lot of like moving parts. So I just leave the seam darker and the outside just brighter with the metallic paint. And there's this small glove at the end. Here I'm base coating a lot of parts from the monster, so the teeth, the claws, the spikes. I'm using gray, just pure gray. The reason is because it's really nice to base coat compared to another type of color, and it's still bright. And here when I wash some sepia wash over to weather those kind of things, make them a bit dirty, I don't have to worry about some magenta coming over from before. And here later on with the dry brush I can go with some more like bonish color and add the color that I wanted on top of those teeth. Starting on the eyes, I went with yellow. I think it was a nice color. I'm doing so that's this part. I'm gonna do a lot of small detail on every spikes and claws of the model. So the idea was to add some details on this. Just having a wash and dry brush I think was not enough, so I've tried just to add a little bit more detail on all those parts. Now we're making the monster a little bit more alive with the eyes. It's really making a big difference. I went with the straight kind of pupil here, so I went online and I looked at some different eyes, and those ones they are more like lizard and stuff like this. And then I gave some small like vein coming around, and everything is black. Just be careful, don't try to keep repeating the same pattern. Like I've made the mistake, I think. It's look really random, but when you do it on like 8 or 10 eyes, you kind of repeat yourself a bit. And here I'm adding some color, orange around, to really give a bit more like details on it. And later on I'm gonna add some light, some white. Here what I'm showing you is this part, like they're supposed to connect when everything is assembled, but because everything is so tight and so tricky, I decide to cut one part of the tongue, glue it right now, and make the gap under the skirt basically, so I'm not gonna bother and we're not gonna see the gap between this thing. So here we go, that's what I'm showing you right now. I waited to finish the Hulk first and then cut this small part and glue it under. So right now I don't have to worry about it. And here I decide to add a bit more color. I used purple to stay in the kind of color theme. I felt like the skin was lacking some color. I should have think about this before, but that's fine. I went at the end and added a bit of purple. And now it's time to glue the whole thing. So here, as you can see, I'm putting first the tongue here. Like if you don't go in this order, you're just gonna be stuck. There is one part of the tentacle coming between two teeth, so it's gluing inside the mouth, one going between two teeth, under the arm, the feet here, it's kind of annoying in the way of this claw. This one's going in between, like it's really tricky, and at the end I just went a bit rushed and I'm like, okay, just put it inside, use the super glue until it's dry, and that's it. Later on I used some PVA glue. I was like, okay, let's just fill the gap, some PVA glue around the gaps, and I painted over. Finally we have it. I'm done with the Hulk. This one took me a really long time between the printing process, doing G2 box support, going back and forth. having a couple of fairs as well. It took me like at least a week of printing, and then I had to sand it, paint it, assemble the things. The order in which way you assemble the model is really tricky. It's a really amazing model, there is no doubt about it. This one is crazy amazing, but when you print it and when you assemble it and when you want to paint it, that's a really tricky part. So if you're thinking about doing this one, I would suggest to follow the order that I did, the way I assembled my parts, and be prepared to spend a lot of time. The painting process was really fun. I enjoyed painting the way it was. It's not crazy like detail. You can spend a whole month on it just painting and refining your paint job. There's a lot of surface and really cool idea to do. But I'm really happy the way it is right now. So that's it for this bad boy. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like or comment. Tell me what you think about it. And see you next week.